Hey everyone, okay, so thanks for coming in so late. I was up playing with my boys outside. It was nice out today, so I apologize for this. I got my work done earlier, but I had to do a late video tonight. So I'm think I'm all caught up with everything I wanted to do, but here's what we want to get into. Obviously, Bitcoin today was down quite substantially, and I may have to turn off some things here. I got things running in the background, so I hope you guys don't mind. What else? We got Bitcoin being down. Miners were being up for the most part. Bitfarms had a really great day today, along with BitDeer today. We'll take a look at all that and stuff that's going on there. And then Bitfarms provided us with a press release stating that they're getting a site in the United States. They're leasing it. We'll get into all the details, but I could give them a path to get to 35 exahash in 2025, which is great. And then we also have news from Riot. Riot's continuing to gamble on Bitfarms. They are now at 14% of the shares of the company. We'll take a look at that. We'll discuss it all here. But first, as always, you guys know the drill here. This is not financial advice for entertainment only. Please do your own research. And this is my full disclosure for you guys here. You guys can read it at your leisure. You can pause it. But if you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe. It helps me out tremendously. And let's get into what's going on here with Bitcoin charts really quick. And the first one that we have at bat is the total hash rate, network hash rate right now. And that is still down to about 586 exahash on the 7-day average. And then if we look at the 30-day average, you can see it's still, I mean, it hasn't really changed from yesterday, so I'm surprised. So we must have had the same day at 601 exahash right now on it. When we look at the Bitcoin transaction fees, those are up a little bit as well to about 57 BTC per day right now, which is good to see. And then the hash price index is actually coming down because of Bitcoin price coming down a little bit to $56 right now. So that's kind of where we are at with that. Today, another surprising day, right? We had Bitcoin going down. We had the miners going up. So the miners are starting to kind of front run Bitcoin a little bit, and it happens from time to time where they will do that. We've had a couple of days here where Bitcoin was down and the miners were up. And that's mainly, I think, because investors are front running Bitcoin price going up much higher in the near future. And they're getting into these miners, which have been kind of beaten down a little bit, or quite a bit, some of these guys, over the past couple months. So this is a good sign here. So Bitcoin was down today. It finished out at 66,738. It was down 2.21%. It came pretty close to the 50-day moving average, simple day moving average, and then it closed right at, it seems like, the 100-day simple moving average as well. It is now hovering right around there as it is right now. I'm expecting Bitcoin to possibly do a nice little jump here going forward here. We don't know when that's going to happen within, might be tomorrow, might be next week sometime. But the way we're looking at things and the way I'm seeing things here, it seems like Bitcoin's coiling up for an explosive move forward. We've seen this before as well. So we'll see when that happens, but that's kind of what I'm expecting right now. Let me know what you guys think of that. Looking at the miners here, the miners had a pretty good day here, except for a couple miners. We had 3 miners down, like last time we had. Any was down today, Argo was down today. Bit Digital was up just a little bit here. BitDeer had a huge day today. Look at that candle. It was up 20.71%. And I don't know why. I didn't see any news for it. But I think maybe people are waking up to it with the potential that they might have with their own ASIC machines, the growth that they're having next year as well. So maybe that's contributing to it as well. Bitfarms, the news came out and the stock did really well today. It was up to a high of $2.88. It was up 15.64%, so that was a good day. We need a couple more of these days, I think, in order to get right off our backs on trying to acquire Bitfarms at this price level. Then we had Cypher was up nicely again today at 9.19%, even though they had news come out that Bitfury were selling shares in Cypher. Nonetheless, the stock was up, so that was kind of good to see there. Cleanspark was up just a little bit, 4.14%. CORZ was up 2.93%. It was up higher to $10.70, but it's still up, so that's good there. Digihost was up a little bit, 2.88. DMG was up slightly, 0.6. Hive was up nicely today, 6.71%. HUT was up also 5.31%. IREN kind of slowing down here a little bit now, only up 1.11% on it. It was up to $14.95, and it came back down. So we might be entering a little phase where we're going to have some accumulation happening, or maybe a little bit of a pullback, people taking profits. That I think is going to be healthy going forward. RSI is pretty high. We know RSI can stay elevated for some time, especially when things start to rocket. But a little pullback, I think, would be healthy for IREN as well. We had Marathon, actually was down today. Marathon was down 1.53% on the day. Mawson was up 12.16%. No news there. I think it's just the way the stock sometimes acts. Riot was up only 3.2%, SDIG 2%, and Wolf was up almost 6% on the day as well, and it kind of came back up to its yesterday's high of 420. I think it closed. They got as close to as 419 for the high for today, so we got pretty close to that as well. Okay, but that's basically it. So it's great to see these kind of numbers. And then check this out. MicroStrategy was actually down today. And I've talked about MicroStrategy in the past before. MicroStrategy was down 7.47%. It is trading down, kind of flat right now. Kind of the same as Bitcoin is right now. So it's gotten in line more with Bitcoin, I think. And the miners are the opposite of it right now. So we might have some rotation happening for MicroStrategy, some other miners, maybe from Bitcoin as well, into the miners to potentially front run the next explosive rally that we might have in Bitcoin. Okay, so that's kind of what's going on there. And let's take a look at the stories that we do have here, and we'll get into your guys' Q&A as well. Should be pretty short and sweet. So this was great news. If we continue to have these kind of news events and we get a new CEO for Bitfarms, I think maybe we can escape the clause of Riot from buying out Bitfarms, but we'll see. So Bitfarms enters into an agreement to develop 120 megawatts in the United States, provides 2025 guidance of over 35 exahash. That's an increase of 14 exahash from where they're planning to get to by the end of this year, right? So this is huge news for us here that own shares in Bitfarms. And I'll be honest, I love seeing this. This is great. Growth is what I love. But here's what we have as far as the details. So today they announced an agreement to develop up to 120 megawatts of power capacity and lease a site in Sharon, Pennsylvania. It's situated strategically within the Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland interconnection, PJM, the largest wholesale electricity market in the United States, and located in a deregulated state. This site offers access to competitive electricity supply and provides the opportunity to optimize and hedge energy costs effectively. So that's all great news there, right? They're going to be able to participate in on-demand and curtailment programs possibly as well. This will enable Bitfarms to improve its corporate electricity price and further diversify its revenue streams. So these are all good things. Let's see here. Executing on our strategy to cost-effectively expand our operating footprint in the United States, we have entered into an agreement for flexible power trading with the PJM. So that's great. So they already have that in place. Said Nicholas Bonta, Chairman and Interim CEO. Leveraging our operational excellence and farm design expertise, we're poised to optimize the site, facilitating efficient growth. This U.S. expansion not only strengthens our position in the industry, but also enhances our geographical diversification, which is true. So this is great. Like I said, this is just great news. So let's keep reading here. In addition, it raises our 2025 power capacity to 648 megawatts, 170% growth from our current capacity, and 47% growth from our targeted year-end 2024 capacity. With the site's ability to support up to 8 exahash alongside our recent acquisition of additional 100 megawatts in Paraguay, we project 2025 guidance of over 35 exahash. Right, this is great. As additional opportunities in our pipeline come to fruition, we will update both our contracted power capacity and our 2025 exahash target. We remain committed to pursuing similar strategic adventures aimed at delivering significant value to our shareholders, concluded Mr. Bonta. So this is great, right? All that FUD about, Riot stating all this FUD about the board and the management at Bitfarms not being in step with shareholders and, getting shareholders as much return on their capital and everything else. I think it just kind of blows that out the window there. Bitfarms is doing all the right things, right? They've struggled in the past. I will admit this, that they had the debt. They paid off the debt. Once they paid off the debt, we're seeing huge ramp up in their pipeline as far as where they want to grow their hash rate, which is great to see. So I'll just leave it at that here. Continuing on down here, construction at the site will commence immediately following the closing, with development and build-out costs anticipated to be similar to recent deployments in Canada and Paraguay. So that's great there. This represents a significant growth opportunity for Bitfarms. The existing structure will be retrofitted with the expectation of bringing 12 megawatts online in Q4 2024, and the remaining load will online in the second half of 2025. So basically a year out from where we are right now, but at least we have a growth plan going forward. And like they said that they have in their pipeline, as additional opportunities in our pipeline come to fruition, we could be even beyond that, and maybe even earlier than the second half of 2025. But this is great news here. And then here's some details on it. So the 5-year lease is in an industrialized area in Sharon, including a 11,200 square feet warehouse with options to renew for a total of 17 years. and purchase at a fair market value throughout the lease term. So they can buy it out whenever they want to, and I would expect them to probably do that, buy at least something when you can own it. And I think they might do that when Bitcoin starts going much higher, right? They're going to be generating much more revenue. At that point, it might make sense for them to buy it at that point, maybe, or buy it in the bear market, save the money that you generated in the bull run, pay for it in the bear market if and when we get it. That way you're maybe not paying a high price for the facility at that point. So might be one way to do it. But this is great news. This is something that we've been waiting for. Right, we had nice news from them this year, getting to 21 exahash by the end of the year. Everything else seems to be in place. The only thing we need now is the CEO, and we need a definitive answer from, I guess, Riot, whether or not they're going to be continuing to pursue trying to buy out Bitfarms or not. They got to 14% of the company right now. There is a poison pill that will take effect if they reach 15. Let's see how close they want to gamble to that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. So, I mean, it seems like we've been talking about Bitfarms and Riot every single day now. But here's Riot's report. Riot announces that on June 13th, 2024, acquired an ownership of another 1.4 million shares. And it comes out to be, where is it at? They stated here, there it is, representing approximately 14% of the issued outstanding common shares at the date hereof. So they own a large percentage of Bitfarms right now. And maybe they'll just own that. Who knows? Maybe they are going to still try to go for the hostile takeover. I have no idea what they're thinking over there. But, I mean, the low ball offer that they had before, $2.35, that's out the window. The stock is now at, where is it at? $2.81. So they're going to have to either bid much higher. I'm guessing that maybe they'll come in at $4 or something like that. But even at that point, I think the stock is way undervalued from that. The only way I think maybe the board would agree to a buyout would be like around, I'm guessing here, right? I have no clue. But based on what I'm seeing here, I think maybe north of $7, if not higher than that. Maybe at that point they would agree to a buyout. But why would Riot buy them out at that point? It'd be overpaying substantially for the exahash that they could just build out themselves. At Corsicana and everything else. So that's kind of my take on it. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. But let's get into your guys' Q&A side of things here, and we'll call it a day. So here's the Q&A. There we go. Let me get over to my screen here, see if you guys have any questions, and we'll call it a night. Maybe we'll have a short video. We went an hour and a half yesterday. We're into it so far, only about 15 minutes. So we're doing pretty good today. I'm also talking pretty fast. Okay. Sorry. Let's see. Trying to find some questions here. There it is. Question. BitDigital seems like one of the few remaining low cap miners that haven't had a run yet. It might be a good buy now for pop soon. Okay, so the only interesting part with BitDigital right now is they don't own any of their infrastructure. So they host everything basically right now. So you're only buying really into them for their ASICs that they have right now, which is less than 3 exahash. They're saying that they're going to get to 6 exahash. They haven't purchased anything yet to get to that point. So the other thing would be you're buying a contract from, or the contract that they have for the AI HPC stuff, which that's at 15 million right now per year. Okay, so that's really what you're getting there from them. So I think that's possibly why they're not being valued as well as some of the other companies that have infrastructure, have their own machines, growing hash rate, all of that on their side, unfortunately. So I don't know, it's your call there, but it's not something that I'm looking to get into, at least not right now. Let's see. What is your take on AI companies buying Bitcoin mining companies? Well, the only reason they would do that is for the megawatts that they want, right? We had, let's see. Well, we had CoreWeave trying to buy out Core Scientific after they signed the contract for 12 years with them. There might be other offers coming down the line as well. We just don't know, but they're going to have to pay a substantial amount, I think, because a lot of these miners know that we're getting into this bull run here with Bitcoin. Their stocks are going to do much better going forward. So they're definitely going to have to pay a premium on that, potentially. That would be my guess, at least. Let's see here. Hey Seb, is Bitfarms working with Mawson? I believe Mawson is located in PJM markets as well as has 120 megawatt infrastructure in Pennsylvania. That was one of my thoughts as well. When I heard the news, I'm like, is this Mawson potentially? But we didn't see anything from Mawson come out that they are leasing a site out or anything like that. Maybe they don't have to report it. I don't know. That's what I thought also. But they're talking about building it out to 120 megawatts. It's not 120 megawatts yet, so it might be something different. So I'm actually guessing it is probably something different than that. Let's see. Hi, question for, I think you're talking about Bitfarms CEO. Why doesn't the founder, you mean talking about Nicholas Bonta right now? Why doesn't he become CEO? Maybe he doesn't want it. I don't know. Doesn't want the headache, maybe. Not sure. Hi, Seb. How Bitfarms shares own? How many Bitfarms are held? Are Riot executives allowed to hold large number of Bitfarms shares in their personal account in addition to 14% company officials? That I don't know. Riot reported, what did they report here? That they had now 57.6 million shares of Bitfarms. I'm looking at this sheet here. This is from here. It's right here. 57.6 million shares. So I don't know if the management at Riot also owns shares, but I think they would still have to report it if they owned a certain amount, percentage of it. But why would they buy it? Yeah, I don't know. Good question, though, but I don't think so. Let's see. Hi, question. When will you show us your small miners overview, and can you also add Seto technologies to them? Thanks. I could possibly add Seto to them as well. I would have to go through, what is it, several months that they've been public now, or I don't know. I'll have to look through it. But I'm going to be working on those numbers this weekend, so sometime next week I'll have the smaller miners for you guys as well. Hi, Seb. Why did you choose Rivian in your portfolio against over Tesla? Couple reasons. Rivian is located in my home state in Illinois, so I thought, okay, there's one thing, right? So kind of patronage there a little bit. The other reason is I like their vehicles, the interiors, more than I like the interior of the Teslas. I think it's more to my liking, at least. And I think it might be also more to other people's liking as well. So there's that. What else did I like about Rivian? I thought they might be a similar story to Tesla, right? Tesla took a while for them to become profitable, and we're seeing the same thing with Rivian. So I knew this was going to be like a longer term play, potentially. Thinking like 10 to 15 years potentially, right? So I still own like 100 shares of Rivian right now. I will probably buy more shares of them when we're done with this Bitcoin bull run. I'll probably want to get maybe like 5 to 10,000 shares or something like that, and just hold on to it, see where it goes, because I do think that they have the potential there. They have also the Rivian trucks that they're doing. So they do have. I feel like they have huge potential there. It just is going to take some time there. Let's see. Do you have any thoughts on Big Digital? Is it a good buy in the current price? I don't know. I don't track them, so I really don't know. Let's see. Can you please tell me the status of Griffin? Don't know. I also don't track those guys as well. They're kind of smaller. I do have them on my list for Yahoo Finance to get news releases from them, but I haven't seen anything recently. If a poison pill is activated, could I sell my current shares of Bitfarms and buy more of whatever the discount, a 50% discount, let's say? Yeah, I think you could still sell your shares. There's no lockup on shares buying or selling from current investors. Let's see here. Why doesn't Bitfarms keep the founder, CEO, and train the young man to work side by side with them for training? You're talking about maybe having Ben there as being the one that's going to be trained side by side potentially. I don't know. We'll see. I would like to see Ben get the position there, but we don't know what their thoughts are in there on the board. Or maybe Ben doesn't want it even. Right. Do you see CORZ fully value or undervalued? Thank you. CORZ right now, I think, is getting close. I think they're still undervalued from where they really should be, even if you dilute the shares based on the warrants that are going to be coming out, right? So they're going to be like 402 million shares, I think, something like that, by the time everything is said and done. So at that point, I think they are still a little bit undervalued from where they probably should be. Let's see. Hi, Sebastian. With the great news on Bitfarms today, how much is your valuation now, and do you think Bitfarms will do an IREN kind of run in the coming weeks? Thanks. I'm hoping that it does that because that would be a great thing to possibly ward off Riot. I own right now, I bought some more Bitfarms shares today, so I forgot to mention that. But I did buy another, what did I buy? 350 shares? Yeah, I think I bought 350 shares, like a little less than $1,000. But so I bought some more today at $2.75. I now have over 20,000 shares in them right now. Average price is around $1.40 something on that one, and I will probably continue to buy into them. I'm hopefully optimistic, fingers crossed, that Riot will back off, and then they get a new CEO. They have great growth going forward, but we'll see. If anything, I can always sell my shares. I'm up already on them. Close to 80% or something like that, so I'll just continue to buy on the dips if we get any. How can they buy so much Bitfarms shares when they can just grow and get increased share price that way? You're talking about Riot, yeah. I don't know why they're thinking about. I get why they're thinking about it, right? Diversification. Bitfarms is located in multiple jurisdictions: Canada, Paraguay, United States, Argentina, all that. So I get why they want to get them. It's also a lot of hash rate. Plus, they've been hugely undervalued here recently because of all the FUD that's been happening with Bitfarms. So I get why they tried to do it, right? But the lowball offer of $2.35 per share, especially when you look at their future guidance of where they're supposed to be with their hash rate and their growth and things like that, it was just ridiculous, right? Nobody was going to offer or accept that kind of offer. So I don't know why they're thinking that, and then now they're thinking they're going to do a hostile takeover. Bitfarms came out with the poison pill they're going to do. So I'm thinking that Riot will eventually maybe stop this craziness, maybe. Or maybe they're just going to go full bore and they're going to see what they can do for it, right? Even if they can get it at $3 and $3.50 or something like that, it's still going to be a steal for them at that point. Or they can just get to 14.99% of the shares, hold on to them. Bitfarms goes up 5-10x. Well, that's easy money for them right there, right? So there's a lot of things that could be at play here. We're not at the boardroom table or the fly on the wall there, which would be great to do. We'd definitely hear a lot of insight stuff. Are we going to get diluted really bad with no growth if Bitfarms moves to the poison pill with no chance of coming out of it? Yeah, I mean, we're gonna get more shares for it, right? And Riot's not gonna get more shares for it, so they have to buy more shares in order to get to, I believe it's either 50%. Some have stated it's going to be like 66% of the shares in Canada. I'm not sure about that one. So that's going to be interesting to see. Can you please add Griffin for your review? I'll take a look at it. Right, Griffin was never on my radar. They're small. They're under 1 exahash. The smaller miners are at least getting, most of them are getting to at least like 2 exahash. The only one that's not getting there is right now is Sphere 3D. Right, they're like 1.4 exahash, and we don't know what the path is for them going forward. Griffin is interesting. Sam, the CEO there, is a really nice guy. He's got great plans for the company, so we'll see. I'm keeping an eye on them just to see how they're growing, but I don't know if I'm going to go through all the months of data to figure out what they have right now, what kind of machines, and they also don't have any infrastructure. Also, they only host, so that's the other part of it. Let's see here. Yeah, so Riot is 1% away from the poison pill, yeah. Hi, Sebastian. Do you think IREN is undervalued? I think they are much fairly valued right now, much better fairly valued than they were in the past. And we saw that in numbers yesterday when we looked at those, comparing the value of petahash based on the market cap of the companies, right? We saw IREN and Cleanspark being pretty close to each other at that point, which then tells me that they are getting pretty close to being fairly valued, kind of like Cleanspark is right now. The market caps are different, and the reason for that is Cleanspark has more hash rate, and they also have HODL, whereas IREN does not. So there's the way I'm kind of looking at it. And they also have a lower hash rate currently than Cleanspark does. But when you look at the actual market cap minus the HODL and divide that into the hash rate that they have, you get basically a value per hash rate, or per petahash or exahash, however you want to do it. And by that, I'm seeing that they're like neck and neck right now, Cleanspark and IREN are. So I think they're pretty fairly valued right now. And we saw that maybe in today's price action a little bit too. Let's see. If you are able to add more Bitfarms now, would you buy today or wait until June 20th? Why June 20th? What's going on June 20th? I'm not sure what's going on June 20th. I bought today. I bought an additional 350 shares today. Based on the news that came out today with their growth plans, I think they're way undervalued. I was thinking they were way undervalued anyways, but this just kind of solidifies it going forward. Yeah, what happened on June 20th? I'm trying to figure that out too. Let's see. If Bitfarms is over 4 and Riot buys Bitfarms for 230, does that mean we sell for a loss with a hostile takeover? Good question. I don't know. I would think that they wouldn't accept any offer less than what the price is at. Usually you want to get a premium on top of the stock price, so I don't think that's going to be the case. Hi, so do you think is a good time to add some more Riot and Mara now? Looks to me like they are due for a run. Yeah, they've been kind of trading sideways here, or flat, or well, Riot specifically has been underperforming for the last 52 weeks. They're in like the number 2 spot for worst performer. Hive is the number 1 spot for that. But that's based on their performance. Everything else there, that kind of coincides with it. So what we really need to see is Riot perform much better going forward with Corsicana facility, which I keep talking about. Their operations need to be much better. Uptime needs to be much better. All that stuff has to improve. And at that point, I think the stock will do better. So if you're a contrarian, right, if you're looking at, if you want to be greedy when people are fearful, now might be the time to get into it, right? Mara, same thing, I think. Mara's, I think, kind of fairly valued right now. Riot seems to be like more undervalued than Marathon is. But Marathon, same thing. They got to execute on their growth to 50x hash this year. They have to have good uptime, or at least improve their uptime from where it has been in the last, or at least the first 4 months of the year. So that is completely up to you. But yeah, I do think that they've been underperforming here lately. Let's see. What is the odds of Cleanspark about 20 next week? Like the show, guys. S needs to be liked. Appreciate it. Thank you. What are the chances of Cleanspark getting 20? Where are they at right now? Cleanspark, I can't go back, but they're coming up here on the sheet. So Cleanspark's at $18. I mean, it's potential. The Bitcoin starts going up a little bit higher. They could definitely get to close to $20 by next week sometime. It's not too far out of the way. Next one here. Should I buy some more or just hold what I have now? I am holding 32,000 Bitfarms shares, $2.42 Canadian, and not be greedy. I mean, that is completely up to you. If you have the capital to deploy and you think that stock is going to be value much more higher in the future, I would buy in. I bought in today, but that's up to you, right? I can't tell you what to do. Do you see Wolf going up past 20 if it is now at 4 now? Depending where Bitcoin goes. So if Bitcoin goes like a 3x from where it is right now, I could definitely see Wolf possibly getting to $20, right? That would be basically a 5x. At that point, I think it could do it. Not sure what SVAG stands for. You think about what do I think about DMI Digihost, or not Digihost, DMG? As a small miner, I think they're an excellent small miner. Kind of same as Digihost. Those two guys I would give more credence to grow going forward than some of the other miners potentially that are in that smaller mining tier as well. Let's see here. What are your thoughts on HUT not releasing a monthly update? Seems odd. Where do I begin with HUT? They have historically been pretty good about this. Kind of, I wouldn't say great, good, kind of fair on reporting their monthly updates. I'm not sure what's taking them this long. I said in last night's live stream that I'll give them until tomorrow, which is going to be the 14th here, right? Yeah. It's going to be the 14th. So it's basically given 14 days. And then if they're not reported by Friday, I'll start going through the monthly updates for the miners as far as which one has done the best. We'll do that, look at the metrics and things like that next week if they don't include that. So I'm not sure what's going on there. I mean, how hard is it to put out, this is what you mine, unless they didn't mine anything and it's like try to figure something out. But you should have all that data within a day or two of the new month, right? So I don't know what's up with that. And that's possibly why the stock is doing the way it's doing right now. I don't know. Let's see. With the Bitfarms announcement today, what do you think their future range of stock price in the peak in the peak. Now, depending when the peak happens, does the peak happen towards the end of this year? Does it happen later on next year? Like, where is the peak, right? If the peak is, I just say the peak is in next year this time, right? It's somewhere around June. They're saying that they're going to be increasing their hash rate to 35 exahash sometime in the second half. We don't know exactly when. It's going to be in the beginning of the second half or the later on in late end of the half. So let's just say it doesn't happen until like November, December timeframe for them to get to 35 exahash. At that point, they're going to be at 21 exahash. Maybe they can get some increase from other sites, changing out machines like that. So let's just say they get to 25 exahash by next year this time. At that point, but that will depend greatly on where Bitcoin goes. Let's just say Bitcoin goes up to 150,000 and that's it, right? That's the peak. That's basically a 2x from here. I think for Bitfarms, I think with their growth plans this year, I still think they can do a 5 to 10x potentially, right? 5x I think is easy. 10x, now we're kind of pushing it a little bit at that point, but might be possible still, right? It just depends on a lot of things, unfortunately. It's not that easy to tell. I wish we had a crystal ball. It'd make it a lot easier on me. James says, I wake up at 4 a.m. to watch your streams here in Germany. Thanks really much for your content. I learned a lot from watching you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Hopefully you have to be at work at like 6 o'clock or something like that. Hopefully you're not just waking up for me at 4 a.m. to watch these. Let's see here. Hi, so assuming 500 megawatt contract is going to bring in profit of 600 million per year, at least 20x, that's 12 billion given 400 million total shares. Would that bring it to 26, not including BTC price? We're talking about CORZ there. Let me see here. 600 million. Possibly. I'll have to run the math on it. I know that their profit margins are supposed to be pretty good, especially after the first 2 or 3 years, because they have to pay back the 300 million for the infrastructure updates. After that, it's like 80%. So if that's the same for the other 500 megawatts, yeah, I mean, stock would be probably north of $26. Just quick math in here. My original target for them was like $19 without the AI side of things. You add on the that's being fully diluted also, like $18, $19, something like that on the high end. On the low end, we're looking at like $9, $10. But if you add in that much more revenue from AI, I could see them going much, much, much higher. Probably 3x that, maybe even, possibly, right? But I have to run the numbers on it. Let's see here. Hive is also running decent. One good news, it could run up big as it is undervalued. Yeah, I mean, it's hugely undervalued right now. And I've said this before, and maybe the CEO there, or I think it's a Chief Executive Officer, Frank, and then the CEO, IREN, are listening. Growth. We need to see growth, guys. If you guys can buy, I mean, they haven't really bought sites in a long time. Thinking about sites or something like that, lease sites or something, and put in growth, the stock will possibly rocket at that point. Maybe they do have something up their sleeve, but right now, we're just not seeing it. With Riot owning 40% of the stock should rise alongside Bitfarms, you would think. Yes, you would think that with them owning 14%, right? I mean, right now, Bitfarms is like a proxy play for Riot shareholders. So if Bitfarms continues to go up, you would think that the shares would be valued higher on Riot also. But I think Riot has a lot to prove with Corsicana, and I've said this before, and I'll continue to say it. We need to see much better uptime there and just continued hash rate growth, right? They have ways to go. They're at, 14 something right now installed, not energized completely, or they might be energized right now. So they still need to do another, what is it? Trying to get to 31. I'm doing my math in my head here. 17 exahash here, and the next, right? Is that right? 17 exahash? Yeah, 17 exahash in the next 180 days, 200 some days, roughly. So they got a lot to prove there. Let's see here. I've missed the IREN and CORZ run. Which miner has the most multiple upside now, and which will be higher at the bull run peak, Cleanspark or IREN? Good question. When I'm looking at Cleanspark and IREN right now, I think they're going to run pretty closely to each other right now, at least based on their current growth projections. Right, Cleanspark is trying to get to 50 exahash potentially sometime in 2025. IREN getting to 50 exahash or 40 exahash in 2025 as well. Their targets for this year are also pretty similar. Cleanspark's trying to get to 32 exahash this year. IREN's trying to get to 30 exahash as well by the end of the year. So those guys will be running a little bit quite similar. The only thing that might offset that is Cleanspark has a HODL where IREN does not. So We'll see if investors actually value the HODL more, especially as Bitcoin goes up in value. Does that add on bonus price appreciation potentially on the stock? Maybe. I don't know on that one. But otherwise, I would think that they would run up similarly. As far as what's the next one that you don't want to miss on, I still think Bitfarms, as you know, I've talked about it. I own a bunch of shares on it, but I still think it's one of the ones that currently the most undervalued out of the bunch here. But it has a lot of FUD with it, right? Riot overhang on it right now, trying to buy them out. How is that all going to play out? So that's kind of the way I would look at it. Let's see here. LB, you missed your question. Let me see if I can find your LB. Okay, so LB missed his question because of the ads. Sorry, guys, I got to put ads in there so I make at least something on these. Let me see here. Hey, so do you think it's a good time to add some Riot tomorrow? Now looks like they are due for a run. Okay, so I said this before. I think Riot is way undervalued right now. They're the second worst performer as far as increase in share price from their 52-week lows compared to other miners. The only one that's worse is actually Hive right now. So based on that, they both, Marathon has to improve their operation, so does Riot. If they can do those things, I think the stocks will do much better, but I don't know if it's going to be that easy for them. They need to prove it, basically, in order for the stocks to go up. Let's see here. Any chance getting potential of upside in BitDeer? Appreciate your video. Thanks. Well, BitDeer had a really nice run today. It was up, 20% today. Right, so maybe they're starting to get more valued on their potential there with their own ASIC mining machines. I think they're also getting to AI as well. They got a really good roadmap for megawatts and hash rate going forward, but it's not until 2025 and beyond. So I don't know. Yeah, what's up with the BitDeer Analyst upgrades? I haven't seen anything. Finally getting recognized as undervalued. Nice action. So yeah, it's been great action for them. Let's see, do you see Bitfarms surpassing Riot and Mara in the future? Depending on how. Are you talking about hash rate or we're talking market cap? Because we've seen already like a newcomer, right? Cleanspark surpassing Riot in market share, all that stuff. So anything is possible with these guys, right? Let's say, I'm not wishing this to anybody, but let's just say that Riot has a tornado go through one of their facilities, right? Maybe it goes through their new facility, right? At that point, they're out for how long? Is it going to have a huge impact on the stock potentially? Yeah. Could somebody else come in, swoop up the market there? Yeah, it could happen, right? Anything is possible in this space. Let's see. Was it Riot that approached you to come check out their facility? Yes, they did reach out to me and asked me if I wanted to come out and take a look at their facility. And you declined. Yes, I declined because you wanted to have not want to have any biases when covering the miners. Correct. Yeah, so I did get asked by CORZ. I got asked by Cleanspark. I got asked by CORZ, and I got asked by Riot as well. And I politely declined to all of those. Once you've seen facilities, I mean, the only thing that you're really getting there is maybe some one-on-one time with the CEOs and the operations guys there a little bit. You can kind of see what's going on in the operations. You can kind of maybe get a feel for how things are going forward. But other than that, I mean, there's not much else you're going to get from it. I can get the same information from watching the videos, watching pictures of the facilities, how they're being built out and everything else, how that's all progressing. The big thing for me is how are they growing the hash rate each month? That's the big thing for me. Let's see. Chicken Lover, I just bought over 30,000 Bitfarms shares today. What's the highest do you think will be at BTC peak with the new CEO and right off our backs? Well, at that point, with the new growth plan that they have for 2025, let's say 2025 is sometime the peak. At that point, I would think we could definitely go, not definitely, I wouldn't say definitely, but I think 5 to 10x from here is doable. We could go potentially beyond that depending where Bitcoin goes, right? Let's see. What's your thoughts on Riot only buying 14% of Bitfarms? Do you think it's a bluff to put pressure on Bitfarms to sell for cheap, or do they don't go into a poison pill situation? Yeah, it might be a bluff, right? You just don't know. Or they could just acquire the shares, keep it below 15%, and then just ride the coattails of Bitfarms when it goes up in value. I don't know. I don't know what their plan is there. But why would you go after a company that, I mean, sure, they're undervalued, so you try to get them. I understand that, but there's no way a company is going to sell for that cheap, especially with the roadmap that they have like Bitfarms, right? If you go after somebody that's in trouble, right, that has debt, having a hard time staying afloat, things like that. You probably want to go after those and get that infrastructure there and then add your own machines into it. But why would you go after a company that's been in some trouble but has come out of it and is in a much healthier position? Why would you go after that? We keep talking about Jason being a poker player and things like that. So you see the cards that Bitfarms has, and the cards are great. Why would you, either he's trying to bluff it, right? He doesn't have great cards, and he's trying to bluff against Bitfarms cards. But if you see somebody else that has potentially good cards, you're not going to go try to get those guys out. It didn't make much sense to me. Let me see here. If so, I feel McNally Money and Anthony accepted their offer and is now pumping Riot stocks. I don't think they're pumping their stocks. I think they got on the hype train a little bit there, maybe. But those guys have never been to a mining facility, so I think it was a great experience for them to kind of witness it. More so, kind of get a feel for how everything works in mining, right? I've managed a mining farm for not as big as any of these guys. It was a smaller one, but I know the intricacies of the mining business side of things, managing for 5 years. So I don't really need to see other operations. Do they differ from one to the other? Sure, they do. Building size, immersion or not immersion, air cooled, whatever it might be, they differ. But there's not much difference between it. The big thing is operation side of things. Let's see here. I'm bullish on Bitfarms, but looking at their quarterly numbers, why is their gross profit negative? Cost of revenue greater than the revenue? Thanks. Let me see. I don't think I have it pulled up here. But if I pull it up, if you look at gross profit, a lot of it is depreciation, amortization on my machines. You always see that in there. If you look at just the cash side of things, so free cash flow, look at that more so than on that, because a lot of these guys do depreciate a lot of their machines, and it's a lot of depreciation there. Woot, first time live. Good morning, Vietnam. Good morning. Let's see. Okay, can you explain like I'm 5 on what will happen to me holding 50,000 shares of Bitfarms if Riot buys 15%? I assume this will be a bad thing. Yeah, I wish we had an accountant on here, somebody like that could really point this out. The way I understand it is, at that point, the poison pill goes into effect. We would get more shares if Riot tries to buy more shares. At that point, we would get, I don't know how many more shares, basically. So we're going to be diluting the number of shares that are out there, but we're getting those. Riot is not getting those. So there's going to make it harder for them to acquire the 50%, which might be needed, or over 50%, or some have stated 66% because they're based in Canada, based on the laws there. I'm not sure. It's somewhere in there. But yeah, we're going to get probably diluted a little bit, or quite a bit maybe sometimes. Not sure on that one. I mean, if you own that many shares, you probably have somebody that you can talk to. I got to talk to somebody about this too. Let's see. If Bitfarms uses the poison pill, what will happen to our shares? We'll have more shares. So there's going to be more shares. So right now there's about 411 million shares outstanding. We could end up with, 600 million shares, 800 million shares. I just don't know. Let's see. I feel that Seb's fan are slowly building Bitfarms army front. Fans? Seb's fans are slowly building Bitfarms army front. Yeah, I mean, I own a lot of shares in Bitfarms, right? So I'm not going to lie to you guys. And I still see it as more creative to investors for them to go their own way than to be bought out by Riot. That's just the way I feel on it. Could I be wrong on it? Maybe. But, you guys let me know if you guys feel otherwise on it. If you guys think it's good for shareholders to sell a low price. I don't think that's the case, but, I might be wrong. But I don't think I am. Yeah, I said, what's your thoughts on Riot only buying 14%? Do you think it's a bluff to put pressure on Bitfarms to sell cheaper? Yeah, but I don't think Bitfarms is going to sell. Why would they sell? Even if they try to bluff it and go in for the hostile takeover, Bitfarms can issue more shares, use the poison pill. It's kind of like, why? Why are they even attempting it now? They know that Bitfarms doesn't want to sell it unless they come out with a really good price. So maybe they're just trying to take over with the board, right? Get board seats in there, then turn that board over to be more favorable to Riot, maybe. That could be the other thing there as well. It's a lot of things at play. Let's Let's see here. Michael says, I think many Bitcoin miners will correct, which the market is overbought. I mean, the miners are not, a lot of the miners are getting to where they probably should be fairly valued right now. Bitcoin has been kind of trading sideways right now. I think Bitcoin might actually pump right now in a couple of days or a week or two, but we'll see. Right, buying Bitfarms was a good play. They don't need to take over, but Bitfarms is a good investment, and you add their growth plans to get to 41 exahash. That's like an explosion waiting to happen. I like it. Yes, you're thinking that they don't have to do it, but yeah, if they grow, let's see, over, but if not good enough. They don't need to take over Bitfarms. Yeah, I mean, that's what I've been saying, right? It's kind of a win-win for Riot right now. Either you get the company dirt cheap, or you have the shares in there and Bitfarms goes up 5, 10x or higher or something like that, and you make money on it that way. And maybe that's just like a cloak and dagger thing. Maybe that's what their intention was in the beginning. They just wanted to acquire as many shares as they could. That's maybe why they're not happy they couldn't acquire 20% of the company or close to 20%, because that would be much higher return for them. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. Let's see. If we do research 35 exahash, what would the price of Bitfarms likely to go to if BTC is at 250? Wow. I mean, at 250,000 and Bitfarms reaches 35 exahash, I mean, you're looking at possibly at that point, probably like close to, I would say like 30, 50, if not higher, dollars per share at that point, but depending on how many shares they have. But yeah, I mean, you're looking much, much higher at that point. Let's see. Let's see. Why is AR revenue for companies like BitDigital, CORZ, etc. not factored just exahash growth? A 100 million AI revenue is somewhat equivalent to how many hash rate, I guess, an exahash. Yeah, that's something that I'm going to be adding in here at least. I'm going to be adding it for BitDigital. CORZ is not going to have that revenue until sometime in maybe the second half of 2025, right? They got to They got to retrofit the infrastructure that they have in order to support the HPCs and AI that are going to be used by CoreWeave. So that's not going to happen for a while. But Digital right now does have 50 million that they're getting 4 million from it. So that should be taken into account. But even without me adding that in there, they're undervalued right now. If I add that $4 million per month, basically $12 million a quarter, they're still looking to be like way undervalued by that alone. They're not being valued on the AI, or they're really self-mining. They don't own any infrastructure right now. And I think things are looking like maybe the infrastructure play is the better one, potentially. I don't know yet. We'll have to keep going. Let's see here. Michael says gold and silver are selling off. Maybe people are buying Bitcoin. I mean, there's a lot of good news on Bitcoin this past week, and actually 2 weeks possibly. Let me see. I'm thinking Bitfarms did the right thing, increase future hash rate to increase share price, thereby making harder for Riot to acquire. Yeah, I mean, this is good news. Maybe they had this in the pipeline already, right? But they can't share this with us. They can't share it with Riot until it's actually signed for, right? So a lot of the stuff that we don't know might be already happening for a while in the background. Let's see. Also, do you think Bitfarms being a Canadian company is a disadvantage? The only disadvantage that might be is I don't think it can get listed on certain indexes, I believe. I think there's something to that. I could be wrong on that. And then also with them having a HODL, their HODL cannot be reevaluated based on the FASB rules that came into effect just this last, 6 to 9 months or something like that. So those are the only two disadvantages that I can think of right now. Let's see. Hive has a higher percentage of BTC to market cap than MicroStrategy. Why is it lagging? Growth. We're not seeing a lot of growth from Hive. Future growth, that is, for hash rate. Yes, if you look at Hive and their percentage of market cap, it's like 60 some, almost 70% of their market cap, or the value of the market cap is their HODL in Bitcoin right now. And if Bitcoin starts going up higher, that's going to probably increase unless the stock actually increases. Question, hasn't Riot been buying the ATM? About to add a third to shares. Maybe you're asking if they've been using the ATM. Possibly. I don't know that. Let's see here. Finally watching late enough to catch you all live. Awesome. Thanks for coming in. Let's see. Can you tell us the story of how and why you started making this great content? Thanks. I'll try to keep it short, but it's not that tough. So I had started I didn't start. I was managing a Bitcoin mining farm from 2017 through 2022. During that time frame, learned a lot from it. Learned a lot of mistakes. Learned a lot of metrics. Learned a lot of things that we needed to keep an eye on. And at that point, I also started getting into Hive, buying shares in Hive in 2017, 2018. So I was starting to track them, right, as they were reporting numbers. I was doing my little spreadsheets, and those things were getting better and better over time. But then the pandemic happened. I got bored. You couldn't really go outside. You couldn't really do anything. I'm like, I have all this data, and I started collecting data on other miners as well. I'm like, I'll just share it with you guys here. I'm like, we'll see where this goes, right? I gave myself, I think, 3 years to get to like 1,000 subscribers here on YouTube. That was my goal. Like, if I can get that in 3 years, I'll be happy, right? It happened a little bit faster than that. I think I got to 1,000 by like 6 months or something like that, which I was thrilled, ecstatic, right? We're now at 13,000, heading to 14,000, which is fantastic. But it's kind of how I got into it, just from boredom. And I also wanted to kind of get out of my comfort zone a little bit. I'm an introvert, so I don't like speaking in front of large groups or crowds or anything like that. And then talking to a camera still doesn't feel right to me. It just feels weird. But I'm getting better at it. I've been doing it for almost 3 years now, so I've kind of learned to deal with it. But it was just basically all those things there. Just kind of combination of life experiences that I've had, things that I wanted to improve on, and things that I was seeing here on the miners. I thought maybe I could contribute something and provide some good information possibly. So I'm glad that you guys are enjoying it, though. Let's see. Do you think the 120 megawatt news for Bitfarms will be used for AI HPC, or are they setting themselves up for something like that? No, I think they're still mostly a Bitcoin miner. They haven't really stated anything for HPC AI that I've heard of, at least. I haven't heard Ben say anything like that. I haven't heard anything from the previous CEO or the current interim CEO say anything on it. So I think they're still looking to be just a sole Bitcoin miner, kind of like Riot is, Cleanspark, Marathon, right? Those guys have basically come out and said they're not looking to get into AI. For whatever reason, they're not interested. Let's see here. Mark says, Riot will sell and crash Bitfarms price. I'll come in with all my dry powder that day. That'd be a good way to go. But will that happen, or could they hold on to it and sell at the peak? It could happen that way too. Let's see here. If I am, yes, I'm afraid of that too. If Riot sells their 14% when the SP is high, it will be a huge short. Yeah, that will be bad. So keep a little dry powder on the side if you can. Yeah, Mark's correct. They get a board seat or two as they increase their ownership, right? So it's kind of trying to infect the inside of something, right, with your own people there, that you can maybe turn some heads that way towards Riot. Let's see. Question, Seb, what goes into your equation that determines the evaluation in your spreadsheets? So you're talking about this, like the stock price, my targets for the miners. I'm just looking at their last 3 quarters of revenue, current quarter that we're in, which is estimated right now, and then I'm looking at their growth. If their growth is great, I give them like an PE of 20. If their growth isn't great, I give them like a PE of 5. Right, so somewhere in that range. It's very what's the word I'm looking for? Cited, biased, I guess you could say, based on what I'm seeing and what I'm looking at as far as growth is concerned, operations, things like that. So it's biased to my things that I'm looking at, but it has worked out so far in the past. So then we're just taking that. We're using 50% off, 50% net income. Based on that, multiplying it times the PE of 20 or whatever, and that's how I'm getting the stock price where I think it should be valued, more or less. Right? There's really no science to it. It's just looking at the numbers. What are the numbers? And here's what the numbers are telling me right now. And it's worked out pretty well. It hasn't been 100% accurate. At times, the miners look way undervalued for an extended period of time until something actually happens. We have miners that are now way undervalued, like Hive, where I can see why they're not being valued as well as they should be, because they don't have a lot of growth or things like that, or their operations are bad, which Hive doesn't have bad operations. They have growth issues right now, but that's kind of the way I look at it. Let's see. I said, will we get any dip on and buying opportunity? What do you think? I don't want to chase. Sometimes, yeah, I mean, sometimes I don't want to chase either, but sometimes I had to. I had to do it with IREN about 2 weeks ago, right, when it was starting to run up on me. I've been buying IREN since November, December of last year, but I haven't been buying as heavily as I probably should have. So I capitulated a little bit, and I bought in hard. Sometimes you have to do that, and then otherwise, if you can't do that, dollar cost averaging as well as you can. Right, it's not easy. Will the price of Bitfarms drop when they dilute? They've been diluting the whole time. They've been using the ATM. We don't know exactly when. Right now we're at, I think, 411 million shares. They were at 398 million shares when they reported their Q1 results, I believe. So they've been diluting. Let's see here. If you don't mind sharing, what are your mistakes you have made last cycle, so we, the newbies, can avoid them? Take profits. Take profits. That's the big one. At one point, Hive, I had a couple $1,000 invested in Hive. I didn't have that much. Going back those years, 2017 and things like that. I had more Bitcoin than anything else, and I was kind of like, okay, I'm going to hold on to Bitcoin. I didn't want to sell it because I knew, or at least I thought, Bitcoin was going to go up in value much higher. So I was only putting in what I could into Hive at that point. So I had a couple $1,000 into it, like $4,000 into it or something like that. And at the peak, I had like $70,000 that I could have sold it at. Bitcoin was around 69,000 at that point. People were saying Bitcoin's going up much higher. Right, we had the double top at that point. I held on through it for the first top, came back down, and I held on through it for the second top. So big lesson learned is take profits when you can. If you're up 300, 400%, there's no shame in taking profits. Nobody knows where the top is going to be. And that's one of the things that I'm going to be struggling here this time around as well, is because the human mentality is, oh, it could go up much higher, and you don't sell, right? So that's going to be a challenge. I know it's going to be a challenge for me already to take profits. So I think that's the biggest thing you can learn, is to take profits. Let's see. Poison pill will be opportunity of a lifetime for buying in, possibly, right? It's going to be dilution, so you're going to be, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be an opportunity of a lifetime. Let me see. You get more shares, price will probably stay low. Maybe, yeah. So with the poison pill, do we get extra shares with the dilution, or will they go into the open market? No, we will get the shares. Hi, Seb. You mentioned last cycle you got caught up in the 100 hype, and then BTC crashed after 69,000. Are you doing anything differently this time for downside protection? I will probably be using like trailing stop losses, but not percentage based. I'll be doing it probably on dollar amounts, and I'll be also dollar cost averaging out of it. Once Bitcoin gets to, I think, over 100,000, a little bit past that, maybe I'll start dollar cost averaging out of it. Or if we start seeing a huge pullback, where Bitcoin goes down, if Bitcoin goes down more than 23%, which has kind of been 20 to 23% has been the average of the last year and a half or so, where Bitcoin has kind of dipped, right? If I start seeing that it's dipping 25, 28%, I'm going to be probably selling. I'm going to be selling hard at that point. So there's a couple of things we can keep an eye on, but yeah. Mark says he sold all his 25,000 shares. I will rebuy them all on the next big dip. I wish the best for you there. I hope it does happen. I'd like to buy some more on the dip as well, but I'm not selling anything. My average price is still very low, so it doesn't make sense for me to sell. Let's see. Do you think Riot can outperform IREN at current prices to peaks? And what about Q4? So I don't know. They're both going to be about the same exahash by the end of the year if they can both pull it off, right? Riot's going to be at 31 exahash, IREN at 30 exahash. At this point, I think they're both I think maybe Riot is slightly less fairly valued than where IREN is right now. But I don't know if they got to really change the investors' thoughts on them. Riot does. They got to operate much, much better going forward, I think, in order to turn some investors back their way, potentially. Doge Gamer, Riot, please back down. No means no. Yeah. Let's see it. Let me see. Hi Seb, could we host a yacht party with everyone in the group if Bitfarms 5 to 10x's? How much does a yacht party cost? I don't know if I'll have that much. How many exahash has Bitfarms grown in the last year? They are now, in the last year, they've grown, I don't have my sheet up. I believe they've grown close to, I think they were like at 4 exahash, so 3 exahash growth or something like that. And they're at 9.5 installed, not energized yet, that we haven't heard yet. They're getting to 12, but possibly by the end of the month here. We'll see if that happens. But that would be obviously pretty good growth there. And the reason they haven't grown much from last year is because they were dealing with the debt that they had, and they were paying that off. They got that all paid off in, when did they get that paid off in? Was it January or February of this year, I think? And after that, they've been on a growing spree, announcing buying machines, expanding infrastructure, expanding sites, all that stuff has been happening here recently. Let's see. Bitfarms should start a dip, and thinking maybe $1 up with that Bitcoin will dip, but I'm not sure where the low will be. We could possibly do that, or we could go the opposite way. We could have a couple of days like we've had with IREN, CORZ, where they continue to go up in value. We'll have to see. What sites do you get accurate news? I get many fake news. Most of the news that I really track on the miners is just their press releases. So I look at the SEC filings whenever I can. I try to look at that at least once a week for all the miners. I look at their press releases. That's where I get the stuff from. That's basically it. Anything else I really don't pay attention to. I mean, I pay attention to what's going on in the market and things like that, but other than that, other news, I don't really watch it. Also, can Riot buy Bitfarms shares for a cheaper price if the poison pill is activated? No, I think they can still buy more shares, but at that point, the shares get more diluted, right? The company shares get more diluted, and we get more shares at that point, where Riot will not get those. That's the way I believe it works. What's the deal with HUT? HUT, the converting electrons to profit. I have no idea what's going on with HUT, or to be honest. I think Sue's hosting a space. Is it tomorrow on Twitter? Not Twitter. They're doing it on Zoom call, I believe, to talk about what's going on with them. I have no idea what's going on there. Let's see. What is your Bitfarms prediction now if it reaches, I'm guessing 35 exahash? I think, depending where Bitcoin goes, depending when the peak of the bull run is, that's going to depend on where Bitfarms gets to. It's kind of hard, but my thesis is still like 5 to 10x potentially for them. 10x would be on the higher side, obviously. I think 5x is doable. 10, depending where Bitcoin goes, might be really on the higher end side of things. Let's see. I wonder if traders will start shorting miners if Bitcoin correction like Coin is doing, which stocks and miners will do correction. Yeah, I don't know. Hey Seb, do you think Bitfarms could pull back to 230? What could do that? Bitcoin goes down further, they could possibly do it. Bitcoin's been trading in a zone right now. It's in an accumulation phase right now, but if it dips down even further, I think that could do it. Also, if Riot sells their shares, that could do it. Let me see. You are doing great, Seb. Thank you. I only watch you, James, from Invest Answers. Yeah, I watch James too when I can, and a little bit of Power Mining Analysis. Yeah, I watch when I can also Anthony and Bryce there. I like their interviews that they have with the management from the companies. Let's see. Excuse me. Seb, what do you think about Marathon building their new chains, Enduro? I haven't heard anything about that. Their new ASICs? Are you talking about the new ASICs, the Auradine machines? Enduro chains. I'm not sure. Let's see. Which miner has the most cash on hand right now? I believe that would be Marathon, I believe. Marathon, and then Riot might be a close second to that. Hey, so what are the mistakes you have made this cycle? This cycle, right, you're never going to time things perfectly. So I think I probably should have been getting into IREN earlier on than I was, or at least doing a 50-50 split on getting into Bitfarms and IREN when I was doing it. Or at least when I started getting into IREN this November, December of last year, when I started buying some shares. I was buying more shares of Bitfarms because I thought they were more undervalued. And then the news came out, right? Because you're not going to be able to know what's coming out with the news events and anything like that. But I saw them both being undervalued. I thought Bitfarms was a little bit more. I should have probably went 50-50. You don't know those things, right? You only know those things in hindsight. What else have I learned this cycle? To buy more in the bear market. Right? I wish I had more capital to do it back in 2022 when things were coming down. I would have been even in a better position right now. It was definitely more painful, right? It wasn't a pleasant experience to being down 60-80% on some of the stocks like Bitfarms and Cleanspark at one point, but I continued to buy in. I put in as much capital as I could into it. But I think maybe if we have a repeat of a cycle going forward, with this cycle being a pretty good cycle for us, I'll have more capital to put in next time, and I'll be putting more heavily in the bear market. And hopefully we have a nice bull run again, right? I don't want to put in too heavily and then we don't have anything. So it's one of those things where you learn on the fly. You have to learn through experience. What else did I learn? I learned to get out of my comfort zone as well by doing this stuff here, doing the videos. What else? I think that's it. Also check your sources, check your things that you're checking into, right? Find reliable and credible people that you can listen to as well. Don't go into a echo chamber sometimes, right? Where you follow people that have the same views as you. You tend to have an echo chamber at that point. Try to get views from opposing views as well. That kind of opens you up and makes you think a little bit as well. So those types of things. Let's see. Hive went from 4K to 70K, like 20x in last cycle. 4K to 70K. Yeah, I mean, last cycle it was pretty good. But that was from 2017, 2018 going all the way through 2021. Yeah, I mean, right. It was a really good cycle there because you got to remember that Hive at one point was trading at like 8 cents, I think it was. And I was buying it at 8 cents. So, I mean, if you look at the cycle from that point to that, it was a really good rally there. Let's see. I noticed on news on HUT has lawsuits. I haven't seen that. They haven't at least reported anything as far as press releases on that. Let's see. Maybe Riot tried to crash Bitfarms by creating FUD so they can buy more shares. Yeah, I don't think they would do that. I mean, Bitfarms had FUD on its own without the help of Riot getting in there as well. Let's see. What do you think about HUT 8? I've talked about them. There's not much news going out from them. There's not much growth for self-mining hash rate. They keep waiting to buy ASICs cheaper, but we haven't seen that yet. Right, so we'll see. Let's see. Trying to find other questions. Let's see. Okay, so this is more of a comment, I think. Riot has many institutional investors, including some big players. Riot met with Trump along with the other two big. Some things in the works. I own Riot and Bit Farms, but I'm leaning more for Riot to win. Are you leaning for them to buy out Bitfarms? You know, being a Riot shareholder, yes, you would probably want them to win the takeover on Bitfarms. You get a lot more hash rate and things like that, but how much are they going to be paying for that hash rate, though? That's the other question there. What is the conservative price for Bitfarms if it reaches 12, 21? I mean, 12 exahash, if they can get that by the end of this month here, we're looking at maybe 50 cents to $1 more or something like that, and maybe $2, right? If they get to 21 exahash, depending on what Bitcoin price is at that point, they could get to like maybe $10, $12, somewhere around there. And 35 exahash, we're looking probably $20 or more, depending also where Bitcoin is at that point. let's see. Not sure what would happen. So can you explain the poison pill on more detail? So the poison pill gets implemented if Riot owns 15% or more. At that point, if Riot tries buying more shares, we get more shares because of that. That's the way I understand it works. So that's kind of like a countermeasure to them trying to take over the company at that point. What would happen to Riot if it's a 20? And then what about, before June 20th, there's something in the press release from Bitfarms and the poison pill. I can't remember what that was, though, from the June 20th. Not sure. I'll have to look back into it. This is a good question. I don't know. What with the poison pill, what happens to the call options? I think those stay in place. Those don't change. The only thing that gets is the shares get diluted. The current shareholders get more shares. But I don't know if you get more options at that point. That I don't know. N. Boren says, thanks, Seb. We're addicted to you now. Looking forward to it every night. Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, we're almost at 300 people concurrently watching. That's fantastic. So I appreciate that greatly. Is CORZ a better company than Mara? When you look at operations side of things, then yes, on that side of things. When you look at financial and history on things like that, Marathon was a better company compared to CORZ on that. CORZ went into bankruptcy, Marathon didn't. So there's, depending when you're looking at it, what you're looking at, operation side of things right now, CORZ is a better company than they are. The Marathon right now is. Marathon needs to prove to us that they can improve their uptime going forward as well, especially when they get to 50x hash. Let's see. Mike says, do you know that Bryce at McNally gets paid through sponsorships to promote companies through due diligence videos and interviews? Didn't know that for the longest time, but was disappointed. Yes, they came out with it. This has been going on for now, 2 months, 3 months? I can't remember exactly. But they came out with it. They said that Anthony started a power mining analysis company, and they cover companies that sponsor them. I don't know if you want to call it sponsors. I don't know what that was called. But yeah, there's been some heated debate about it on Twitter and everything else. Personally, I like Anthony and I like Bryce. So I'm happy to jump on their channel whenever they have it. They're in a business to do it. Anthony's been doing it for a long time. He's been providing the analysis for free, right, for a long time as well. So if he can create a company out of it and do it and make money on it, more power to him. So I'll just leave it at that. Let's see. Do you have a plan for selling this cycle? Are you going to DCA out gradually? Do you have price and or multiple X targets for selling? Yeah, so the goal is to DCA out. I'm going to probably put in some trailing stop losses in there as well, just to kind of protect myself. I probably won't have it all sell all at once, but I'll DCA out as best as I can. I don't know where the top's going to be. I don't know when Bitcoin's going to finish out the bull run. Could it be in 2025? Could it be at the end of this year? Could we continue to go up through 2026 even, right? It's a different cycle that we never had before with all this adoption from institutions, all this stuff, right? We'll have to kind of keep an eye on it. But at a certain point, I think if I reach a certain level of profits in it, even if Bitcoin continues to go up, I won't care. I'll probably just continue to sell out potentially for a while. I may leave something on the table, like 25% or something, see where it goes. But the plan is I want to be able to pay off my school debt. I want to be able to pay off my car. I need to buy my wife a new car. And then I need to pay off the remodeling that we're doing in the kitchen right now. So I need to have enough of that and have some much left over to then invest more into other things as well, potentially, depending if we have a bear cycle or not. Let's see. Is CORZ still the most undervalued? No, it is not. CORZ has had a nice run up. AREN has had a nice run up. Right now, the only one I'm seeing really that's really undervalued is Bitfarms. Let's see. I'm curious if this could be a catalyst to stocks going ahead. What's that? What would be the catalyst? Let's see here. Seb, I put in a big tranche of Bitfarms after comments about them last night. Then today it pops with great news. Thanks. You're the man, bro. Yeah, right. I said that yesterday that with all these guys, it doesn't take much but some good news to move these stocks. And that's why it's tough to pick the tops, pick the bottoms, because you just don't know what's going to happen. And sometimes you do have to chase them, unfortunately. So, like I said, I bought today Bitfarms as well. But I've been buying it for the past 2.5 years. So I still think that there's a lot more upside here to be had with Bitfarms. Let's see, Ed says, I had 40,000 a couple months ago, so I bought 5K of IREN and at $5 and 35K of Bitfarms at 280. IREN went up 140%. I just broke even with Bitfarms. Give it time. You'll do much better, right? But you just got to be patient. Sometimes you can't pick those things correctly. I sold Cleanspark and I got into IREN at, what was it? I can't remember now. I'd have to look at my numbers because I'm doing so many numbers. It becomes fuzzy after a while. But I got into IREN. I'm up like 90% right now on that one. So I'm doing really good with that. Bitfarms I've been buying for so long. My price average is really good. I'm up like 84% on it right now. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at things. Let's see here. Speaking of James from Invest Answers, I was wondering if you might consider collaborating with James. I believe a collaboration between you two would be incredible. Thank you. Keep up the excellent work. Yeah, I mean, it's never off the table, but the big thing is when he does his live streams, I'm either at work or I'm playing with my kids or doing stuff around the house, and then I do these things at night, right, when I have time. So the only times that might work out would be either on my lunch break, which I don't like to use up my lunch break for this. I like to relax, have a lunch break, or over the weekends. So, I'm trying to find some more questions. Let's see, how many extra Bitfarms shares would we get if they dilute? Is it free or do we need to pay for it? I believe it's free. It's like 0.0001 cents per share or something like that. So I think it's basically free. Let's see. Let's see. I just bought Bitfarms. Why couldn't the poison pill be at 20%, as I don't want the price to go down now? That was a decision by the board, right? They decided that they didn't want to risk having them have more than 15%. And, I'm okay with it. I hope we don't get diluted. I hope Riot is just playing chicken right now. And so, yeah, your name is Chicken Lover. But I hope that that's the case. I don't know for sure. We'll see in the next couple of days, probably. I mean, if Riot continues to buy up shares. Yeah, here, let's see. It's up to individuals to do their due diligence, never rely fully on anyone else. Yes, completely agree, right? I try to provide you guys with as much data and my thoughts and things like that of what I might be doing. I try to be transparent as best I can, but I'm okay if I lose money. I would hate to see you guys lose money on things that I've made or decisions that I've made on things like that, right? I'm okay with that. I don't want you guys losing money. You could say luckily enough, or maybe with the data and everything else, that has helped me to get into IREN, Cleanspark, Bitfarms, with Bitfarms I think is still lagging quite a bit, but IREN and Cleanspark have done really well, and then CORZ recently, based on the things that I'm seeing, right? So maybe it's a little bit of luck and maybe a little bit of perseverance as well, pulling in all this data, which helps me at that point. Let's see here. Hi, Sebastian. Is it better to buy long-dated options over shares to capture maximum upside? Good question. I don't deal with options. I just buy the shares. So there might be somebody in the watching right now that might be able to provide some information on that. Let's see. Thanks for the response. You're very welcome. One more question, please. Do you think Riot will get to 14.99% and then make another offer, or more likely to just go guns blazing and complete the hostile takeover? Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. We don't know what the mentality is of the board there or of Jason. What are their plans? I mean, they can go blazing, but if you're going to be buying up shares and everything else, I mean, we saw Bitfarms run up nicely today, about 16% or so. We need a couple more days on that. And I think at a certain point, if the market cap of Bitfarms gets to a certain level, maybe at that point it doesn't look as appealing to buy them out. But they still have huge growth going forward. So I think it's a tough one. You would think, or at least I think, that it doesn't make sense to buy them at a premium when you can build it out yourself and at a much lower cost, which I think is much more accretive to investors. But then also, if you're looking at the cycle now, even if they try to buy them out, when will the buyout happen, right? It's going to take time. It's going to take regulatory and things like that. You're looking at possibly, 6 to 12 months of legal things and regulatory things and all that stuff that's got to get passed through it. I mean, look at Hut 8 and USBTC. How long did that take? I mean, that took a long time for that to get through. So when would they be getting Bitfarms anyways? Would they be getting it at the end of the peak of the bull run potentially? There's a lot of things. So I'm not sure what's going on there, why they're thinking about doing it. But yeah. Yeah, Brett says they're going to try to take over the board. Yeah, I mean, it seems like that's the most likely thing that they're trying to do is get the board turned over to Riot's side and then possibly sell the company at that point, or agree to sell the company. Let's see here. Will Mara break 100 this run? It's possible, depending where Bitcoin goes. But it is possible. If they can get to 50 exahash and have much better uptime, I think that is possible. Ed, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you for your efforts and have a good night. You too. Thank you again. Let's see here. Thanks for all you do, Seb. I appreciate it. Thank you. You're very welcome. Let's see. If Riot buys out Bitfarms, they will have a lot of enemies. Thoughts? Enemies in the mining space? I don't know. Maybe. From investors? Definitely. The ones that are invested in Bitfarms, right? A lot of these investors don't want to be acquired by Riot. Thanks for your honesty. You're very welcome. All right, that's kind of what you get with me. You get what you see. Mark says Riot won't be buying Bitfarms. And, I hope you're right, Mark. Let's see. Mark says Bitfarms is a better company on several metrics. I agree. That's why I don't want them to be bought out. Let's see. Do we buy or are we given the shares with the poison pill? We're given the shares. Can we buy unlimited number of shares with the poison pill? Seems like a no-brainer at that low cost, if that low sense. So it's based on the number of shares you had at a certain date. And then you get more shares based on the poison pill effect. But you can't buy those shares, I don't think. I'm pretty sure you can't. Let's see. Okay, I think I'm catching up to you guys' questions here. What do you think? Okay. What do you think the top 3 most undervalued miners currently are? Currently, I would say Bitfarms. I still think, let me see, we got Bitfarms. Who else do we have in there? CORZ potentially on there as well. And then we got, I think IREN's had a nice run up here. I think it's much more fairly priced in right now. And then Riot, I think if it fixes their issues with the uptime and continues to grow their hash rate at that point, I would think maybe those 3. But if you're looking also at like other ones, you could look at Cypher, TerraWolf, right? I think those 2 are kind of fairly valued as well. If they can increase their growth this year, then they would probably be the next ones to probably pop. What do you do for a living? So I'll just do it this, director of operations at a facility. Let's see. Skipped away from me. Do you think the miner boom is mostly attributed to the AI hype right now? Bitcoin hasn't been doing anything helpful. No, because you got companies that don't have anything to do with AI, like Bitfarms not in AI, right? That's running up here recently. Yes, IREN has run up. They have a little bit of an IREN or HPC business there. Core ran up because of Core Weave. Gosh. And then who else ran up here recently? A couple of rounds. But we're also seeing this. This has happened before where the miners actually front run Bitcoin in anticipation of a bull rally about to happen, or at least a huge spike in Bitcoin. So we've seen this before, and it also sometimes works the opposite way as well, where the miners will sell off while Bitcoin's actually going up, right? Sometimes the miners front run Bitcoin. So I think currently I'm thinking that's more attributable to it. Let's see. Is this BTC cycle different than past years due to BTC hitting the ATM high 73 prior to the halving? Yes, we're seeing that. I also noticed that the last cycle, the miners were going down in price a year prior to the halving event. This time we didn't have that happen until like 3 months before the halving event. So that was different. Bitcoin also went up much higher, much faster in 2023, right? Into 2024. So that is different. Yeah, it's a different cycle this time around, by what I'm seeing here at least. Okay, how does it work? If we have more shares due to poison pill, will Riot's share portion increase as well? No, their portion will not increase. Then wouldn't it be back to square one in terms of percentage of holdings? Yeah, yeah. So their shares will not increase. It would basically be everybody else is getting shares, free lunch. Riot, you don't get it. That's the way it basically would work. Mark says BitDigital is the most undervalued play. Sweet pickup at these levels. I agree with you. I think they're undervalued, but I think there's reason for it. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of growth this year in hash rate for self mining, and they don't own infrastructure right now. I think infrastructure is also maybe a pretty big play in this cycle right now, because we keep hearing about all this AI and the demand on megawatts. So I don't know, but in general, I think BitDigital is undervalued from where they really should be. See, Hut is the most disappointing miner so far. They were the golden child last bull run. Yeah, yeah, they're disappointing on it. Hive hasn't been doing great either, right? Even though they have great operations, great uptime, all that other stuff, but they don't have a lot of growth. Let's see. Did CoreWeave, the Core Scientific, give a contract to CoreWeave because of the name Core? Yeah, I don't know, but I think they had business in the past. CoreWeave used to be a GPU miner, so they were mining Ethereum at that point, and then they pivoted more towards the HPC AI side of things, and that's kind of how they have a relationship there, I think. If I hold Bitfarms till April next year, else I have to cup up in short-term CGT. Do you see it bottoming out by then? Not sure I understand your question there. Let's see, is BitDigital more undervalued than Bitfarms? The way I look at it is future growth, so I would say no based on that alone, plus their operations. Bitfarms owns infrastructure. BitDigital does not own infrastructure. And growth for BitDigital is only about 3 exahash this year to get them to about 6 exahash. They haven't purchased anything yet for it, where we know as Bitfarms has already purchased miners to get to 21 exahash. Yeah, Brad, completely, yeah. Asset light model, that's basically what they've got going against them. Still like and own them. Yeah, I mean, they're a great miner, right? Very profitable. Just, I think the market, investors are looking for growth. Let's see here. Seb, you think BitDigital will have the best pop from the Ethereum ETF rollout? Possibly. I know that they stake a lot, right? What do they have? Like 19,000 coins, 20,000 coins, or something like that of Ethereum that they are staking right now. So it's possible. But I don't know how many investors are informed that they have that, or at least that amount. Maybe the institutions do know about it, but in general, I think investors are looking for growth and hash rate. That's the only thing that's really keeping the stock down, I think. Let's see. Sounds like good news for shareholders and not Riot. Woot, free shares, and hopefully the price doesn't dilute that much. Thanks. Yeah, that's kind of the hope there. Let's see. Why don't AI companies get their megawatts from electric companies instead of miners? Isn't that a better thing to do? Yeah, but you need to have infrastructure there. So I cut up to all your guys' questions here, so we're going to call it a day here, but I'm going to answer your questions nonetheless. So AI companies need to have connections with the electricity companies, right? So you can't just go to a electrical company and say, I need 200 megawatts, right? I'm going to plug in right here and we're going to put in these transformers and things like that. No, it doesn't work that way. You need to have these not interconnects, but you need to have power drawn to you to do that. You need substations in order to do that. There's a lot that gets involved, and you need to have basically a feasibility study done at that point by the electricity company, which takes time. So it all takes a lot of time to do that. So it doesn't happen overnight. It's usually like somewhere between 9 to 18 months of time just to get approval from the electrical company to get the megawatts that you need for it. So for that reason, this is why the HPC AI companies are looking at the miners potentially because they already have those connections. They have those approvals for that. It's just a matter of changing out the infrastructure, potentially retrofitting it to their needs, kind of like what CORZ is doing right now with it. But it's costing them $300 million. CoreWeave is paying that in the upfront for Core Scientific to do that, but it's going to take time, right? They're looking at basically a year to CoreWeave needs to be like a tier 3 data center or tier 4, meaning that they have to include redundancies, backup for power, right? So you need backup generators at that site. You need cooling systems to cool the facility. You can't rely on air cooling. So you need to have it at a certain ambient temperature in there, operating temperature, I guess, inside the building. So you're using chillers and all that stuff to do all that, and that all costs money. So it takes time. But yeah, that's it. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. We'll see if Riot provides us with another update. They're at 14.5% shares of Bitfarms tomorrow. We'll see what else happens. We'll see if Riot maybe provides, not Riot, Hut 8 provides their operation update for May. We'll see what else happens. Actually, no, tomorrow's Friday. Gosh, I almost forgot. So unless something drastic happens tomorrow, there will be no live stream. I do these Monday through Thursday right now. Fridays, I take the day off because everybody's kind of out doing about. They're out going to movies, going to dinner, doing all those things, relaxing, right? So I'm going to do the same thing there. We will possibly do something either on Saturday or Sunday, depending on how much time I have. I'm remodeling the kitchen upstairs, so I'm working on that as well. I got a birthday party on Saturday also, so if anything, might be early Saturday afternoon that we do this, or sometime on Sunday. I just don't know yet. But if anything, I'll provide that to you guys, maybe in advance notice on Twitter or something, or through the Patreon group as well. Okay, but that's it. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great Friday tomorrow. Have a great night today. Thank you so much for coming in to watch this. Greatly appreciate you all. And, be positive. We still have time. I think we still have quite I wouldn't say months, but I think days, weeks before Bitcoin starts going up. It's just getting ready to roll, I think. So be patient out there. Okay, but that's it. Thanks again. I'll see you guys in the next one.